Welcome to this Windows channel, and this is the tech news update for Monday, February the 22nd, 2016. And today in our tech news update, Bitcoin is apparently in trouble. It seems that the senior Mike Hearn, the senior Bitcoin developer, has sold all of his Bitcoins, and he says that there's no future for the Bitcoin or the virtual currency. Now, Bitcoin, for those that don't know, is that virtual currency that has a certain standard and was supposed to be uh, first money that's not basically owned by anyone and is not backed by a government or anything, and that it has a certain number of bitcoins and subdivisions that can be done. So there's a limited number of Bitcoin out there. But Mike Hearn says, well, you know what? It doesn't have a future because more and more Bitcoin is controlled by a small number of users, which actually is not the way it was intended to be at the start. So basically, he says that there's no future. So, if one of the senior first developers of Bitcoin decide that maybe there's no future, I think we should maybe start to get a little nervous, especially if you own some Bitcoins, for sure. So only the future will tell if Bitcoin will still be there. Samsung has finally unveiled its Galaxy S7 and Galaxy S7 Edge phones. And of course, it doesn't have that much of a difference in design except for beautiful metal-like casing, and also its display is pretty much the same type of OLED type display that they were using in other phones. But that is a very beautiful screen, we have to say. And what's new and interesting that people were kind of a little worried about in the last edition, well, micro SD is back, so if you want to pop in a little micro SD card, you'll be able to do it again. One of the things that a lot of people though are mentioning here is that instead of using the new and popular USB-C connector, they've gone back to the micro USB connector. So that is kind of, a lot of people have been saying, yeah, I'm not sure. Should really use USB-C because it's getting more and more popular and more devices are using it. But nope, they've stuck with their older connector. And it does support 3000 milliamp hour battery instead of 2500 that they had in the other phones, which should extend the battery life also. When is this going to be available? March 11th is apparently the date where all of this is available. Pre-orders are of course accepted as of now. Well, a interesting little study talking about pirated editions of Windows. And what they mention is that actually pirated editions of Windows help Windows market share grow. And what they're saying is that if you remove the possibility of having pirated editions of Windows 10, so say Microsoft makes this really good way of not being able to go around the protections and the activations, they say that actually a lot of the pirated editions of Windows 10 would be turned into Linux editions, which would apparently, according to that study, make the Linux distros, which is 1% right now of the world, to about 2.5%, which is interesting here. And so they say, well, finally, you know what? That means that pirated editions of Windows actually increase the market share of Windows. And they kind of hint that's why Microsoft should think that maybe we should continue free upgrades to Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 users to Windows 10 after the deadline this July. Open Connectivity Foundation. What is that? It's a number of big companies. Here you see Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, but companies like Microsoft, Intel, Qualcomm, and many others are uniting for this Open Connectivity Foundation. What that foundation will do is make sure that all Internet of Things devices, so every little device that you buy that's not a computer that needs to be, plugged into the internet, has an open standard that every device will have as its own standard. Right now, every device has pretty much its own little operating system, its own way of doing things. And that's kind of complicated because, when there's when there's flaws and there's things that happen, it's not always easy. The Open Connectivity Foundation wants to standardize that so that every device works in the same manner, and that if a flaw exists, well, they just will send out a security fix that fixes everything together instead of having a million different companies having to fix it with their own way of working, basically. So that's going to be interesting to see if it holds on, and that maybe new Internet of Things devices will use standard of operation. Well, Linux Mint has been hacked. If you are a Linux Mint user, the Linux Mint website actually is down as I tried it today. linuxmint.com is actually offline right now. And Saturday, apparently, if you downloaded Linux Mint image files, you were actually downloading a big bunch of malware and viruses instead of Linux Mint Edition. So what they're saying is that if you've downloaded this weekend a Linux Mint Edition, throw it away, don't use it. You are at risk of infecting your machine. And basically, they are working at putting everything back up. And as soon as the distros are available, they will put them back online. If you have an older edition of Linux Mint, what they say, well, use the older edition for now and come back in a few days when everything gets better. But so I've tried this just before the news bulletin, and we're going to try it here again. Linux Mint, linuxmint.com was offline just a few minutes ago. Here we go. Can't reach the page. So they probably took it down, or at least I hope. Maybe it could be a DDoS or denial of service attack. But let's hope that things come back to normal. Linux Mint is a popular distro, and it's one of the very nice Linux distributions, by the way, out there. So I hope things come back to normal soon. So that's pretty much the tech news update that we have for Monday, February 22nd, 2016. If you enjoy my videos, want to subscribe to my channel, you'll be informed when new videos are online. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, maybe a video you'd like to see, let us know. And thank you for following us. It's always fun to have your feedback.